Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. This is our public meeting of January 8th. No, I think it was. I think I might be ahead of myself. This is the first meeting in January.
Yes.
All right. Let's do of 2016. Let's do it like that. This is the first meeting of 2016. The first thing today would be a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Any? I'm sorry. We will change the order, yes. No problem on that, sir. We can do that. Any other additions or things to add to the agenda today? None? Okay. Hearing the question, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, the motion is carried. First item then from that agenda would be the minutes of the action report from the last public council meeting, which, believe it or not, goes way back to December 15th of 2015. A year ago. Amazing. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the December 15th meeting as presented. Moved by Councillor Wall, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any errors or omissions from the minutes of December 15th? Errors or omissions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. The business arising then stemming again from the minutes of December 15th. If there is any, please refer to the agenda item as listed. Any business arising from the meeting of December 15th? We're going once, twice. Councillor Tessier.
812. I know this is an issue that has been brought forward to council many times, the issue of the mini split heat pump. It says it's gone to municipal affairs for registration of the amendment.
Yep.
I know that this is something that's pretty been brought forward by Councillor Walsh more than one time, and I'm wondering now if we have that registration back, and if we do, if the residents who were having the inquiries, if they've been notified.
Who would I turn to? Councillor Steffen. Director Yevchek.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Tessier, we have not received anything back from Municipal Affairs for registration at this point. We anticipate getting it very shortly, but it is our intention, once we receive that we will contact those people that had previously applied. We do have a list of the names of the property owners that had applied earlier.
And I did, just for your information, if I could, Your Worship, I did contact the 2 or 3 property owners who had dealt directly with me and just told them that the change had been approved by council and it was waiting for registration.
All right, that's perfect. Good. Any other business arising from the minutes of December 15th? None? Hearing none, we will move along. Yours is not working that well either here, Madam CAO. Proclamations, presentations, we have none today, nor do we have correspondence to table, being the first meeting of the year. We are going to, at the request of Councillor Walsh, we are going to change the order of committee reports tonight. We are going to take the Planning and Development Committee report, which is listed as item number 6 on the agenda. We are going to move it up to the next item on the agenda. So with that and with leave of council, I'm going to invite Councillor Walsh to take the floor. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We have 7 or 8 actually items on the planning agenda. I'll deal with the first few, and the Deputy Mayor will handle the next 3 items. The first one deals with 6 Emberley Place. There is a property there that was actually for sale, and when it was referred to their solicitors in early September, it was noted that actually part of an accessory building, fence, and a portion of the development residential property was actually encroaching on city-owned land. So we were glad, obviously, that the lawyers who were acting on behalf of the seller, the current property owner at the time, picked that up. This property actually forms part of the periphery of the Team Guju complex, and I think we're all familiar with that particular home on Emberley, but I don't think any of us were aware that actually part of the land was encroaching on city-owned property. We're not into the habit of wanting to sell or give up city-owned land. In fact, we may need that land at some point in time to widen the right-of-way or to have a secondary access or egress to and from the Team Guju complex. So with that in mind, we looked at different alternatives, and we're putting together the following recommendation, Your Worship. There are two. That first of all, that the city not be the city land not be transferred to the property owner at 6 Emberley, as the needs for its future use as part of the larger Team Guju complex is unknown to us at this time. As I said, we may need it for an access point at some point in the future. And we would be willing to provide a license to occupy this area, and that will be provided to the property owner, renewable every 5 years, with the condition that the ground that the city need to use the area and that the structures that exist on this area will either have to be removed or relocated at the property owner's expense should we require access to that land. So with those two conditions, I ask for the support of council to address that issue on 6 Emberley, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Wall, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Questions or comments? I'm having just a very quick look at the map here, the layout, and I see things like paved, brick pavers and a shed, etc. All of that am I to assume that that is already inside their own property, or is that now existing on the city land that they've requested?
Some of the shed actually is sorry? Yeah, as I was going to say, some of the shed, the outside shed is on the city land, as well as some of the interlocking brickwork and part of the crushed stone that forms part of the driveway is all part and parcel of the city-owned land. Yeah, the property, the map is there. It's accompanying the report, but so that's the reason, Your Worship, that it is a problem. Obviously, it's also we don't at this time, because we don't have an immediate need, we don't want to ask the homeowners to go through the expense of relocating it, and of course neither are we prone to want to sell it for that reason. But we do need to serve notice to them that if we do require at some point in the future any refurbishing of the property or reinstatement of the land would have to be done at their expense.
Just another question then, Councillor Walsh, relating to it. The proposed redevelopment that's happening at Team Guju, and I'm thinking in terms of the demolition of the Smallwood Arena, plans for a new building that we're looking to maybe perhaps do down there.
Yep.
You know, we're considering a number of options on redevelopment or repurposing the property. Does that particular initiative impact on this piece of land?
Not at the present time.
If
but
it does
may,
not, I have.
But it may at some time
might.
in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, it might. But
yeah. So to answer your question, given all of the changes that are about to take place here now that are imminent, some of them are planned already. Some of them are, in fact, were supposed to be scheduled for some of the paving, for example, scheduled to be done this year. It doesn't have any impact on any of those
this.
things. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Deputy
Mayor.
Mayor. Councillor Walsh said we discussed, because there is sort of a nice rock wall that's been constructed along the roadway that gets us into Team Guju. That's, you know, some of it is in city-owned land, and we had the right to get them to move the rock wall. But when we looked at it and said, could we reasonably get any city vehicles down there, any emergency vehicles down there, at the committee level we determined that it wasn't, you know, an obstacle getting those trucks down there. So this was the compromise that we came up with, you know, that we did realize we could insist that they take this full wall. That's a beautiful wall. It obviously costs substantial amounts to put it there, but we as at the committee level didn't think that it impeded any sort of access from an emergency vehicle perspective or city truck perspective. So that's why we came up with this suggestion.
Anyway,
exactly. Yep.
So this is not a, or is it? Is this a renewal of a lease?
No, this would be the first lease that we would give.
Okay. Right. Councillor Tessier?
This particular property, I don't know if it still is or not, but I know that it was up for sale for a while. So this information, I guess if any potential new property owner requires a compliance letter from the city, they'll get this information as well?
They would.
I
As
would,
far
yes,
as
I
I know,
would think
that's
so.
how it was picked up in the first place, because it was referred for compliance, and the lawyers who reviewed it noticed that there was an encroachment on city-owned land. They notified the current property owner. I'm not sure, Councillor Tessier, whether the property has actually since sold, but I know it hasn't. Okay, so it was in the process of that sale that it was picked up.
Okay. Any other question or comment? We'll move it then. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The second item deals with the Commissioner's report from Stan Clinton, which was dated on the 18th of December 2015. By way of background, the city did receive a request from Lat 49 on behalf of Gibraltar Development to amend the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan and Development Regulations to accommodate a proposal for a 3 or 4 story, 60-unit condominium apartment building at 18 to 24 Glendale Avenue. The applicant has requested that the full property be redesignated to residential and rezoned to residential high density to accommodate the proposed development. Council did move ahead on supporting that change on the 17th of November in a public meeting of council. We did subsequently issue a notice of the public hearing, and that was established for I think the 11th of December, was it? The 11th of December, and I think, or 10th or 11th of December, and the commissioner's report is appended here and is now, I think, on the website for public reading and viewing as well. So after reading and hearing the various written and verbal representations, the commissioner recommended approval of the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010, Amendment Number 15, 2015, and the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010, Amendment Number 48, 2015, and he recommended that they be approved without amendment. The Planning and Development Committee recommends that, therefore, Mount Pearl Municipal Plan 2010, Amendment Number 15, 2015, and Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010, Amendment Number 48, 2015 be approved and forwarded to the Department of Municipal Affairs for registration, and the Commissioner's report be posted on the city's website. So if that meets with the approval of council, which I imagine it will, would ask that that would be posted immediately onto the website of the city of Mount Pearl as well. So with these two recommendations, I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Questions or comments from anyone at all on this, Deputy Mayor?
Well, Your Worship, you had a chance to read down through the
I did.
through the report. It seems that we did due diligence, and they even made mention that we went above and beyond. Of any development that came through council, in my time on council, we have never spent more money, more resources, human resources, on this. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that on any of the issues that were raised, any of the appeals, nothing was found at any level that we did that was inappropriate or incorrect. Just want to go down through here. There's one section that I wanted to highlight under the analysis in particular.
It's the bottom part of paragraph 1, actually, I think is what you're
What page?
I think it's what
Worship?
you're going to reference.
What
page
page?
6.
All right, see down here.
I think that's what you're going to reference. He says, the commissioner writes,
Right. In fact, council took steps above and beyond what is required
there you go.
and appears to have bent over backwards to deal with and to clarify the concerns raised. And then in the conclusion, in the opinion of the commissioner, he sees no basis on which the proposed development or the amendment should not proceed. This intensification in the heart of the city has merit, and the objections raised against it have not, in the commissioner's view, been substantiated. Further, he states the concerns raised about the intrusion on privacy are weak, as are the potential flood risk issues, and the problems raised about servicing and trafficking did not counter the professional evidence supplied by the experts. So in his report, Your Worship, he makes reference to the fact that the city went through and hired professionals in the field in terms of appraisers, in terms of traffic experts, and he saw no reason to counter the experts in the field. So the commissioner's report basically summarized and affirmed what I felt all along, that this is a good project, that the city, our staff and council did due diligence. So I certainly am in favor of this particular amendment to support the proposed development that has come before the council. Thank you, Your Worship.
Any other comments? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Hearing none, we will call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Stop you 1 second, Councillor Walsh, because I am going to ask you a question after all.
Absolutely.
Once this is approved, as we've done here now, and it goes on to our website and whatnot for public edification,
Yep.
the next step in the process, I look to you and Mr. Yefchak now, the actual development plan, which is what really people discussed more than the amendment.
Yep.
The actual development plan comes forward
Will
then
come
to
forward
us
to council.
for
Based on the
consideration.
recommendation of the commissioner, well, we approved the development in principle, then it had to be referred to the commission hearing. That hearing took place. That was approved. Then the development application has to be considered by council yet again.
When would that happen? Now, that's the next step, I'm
Probably
assuming.
within the next couple of weeks, I would hope.
Mr. Yevchek, what's the,
Yeah, the next step, Your Worship, is to have the document registered and gazetted.
yep,
And once it's gazetted, the actual amendment is legally in effect.
and how
And
long?
after that, then council can actually make a determination on the application.
Okay, so gazetting of the amendment, changing the zoning.
Yeah.
How long does it normally take?
That takes, once we receive the notice of registration, and that usually can take anywhere from 2 weeks, maybe a month. Once we receive that, gazetting takes within 1 to 2 weeks.
All right, and then the development as proposed comes to council for
Come
approval.
forward. Yes, Your
Okay.
Worship.
All right, I ask that, Councilor Wallace, only because I'm interested in a start date on the project itself. Will it happen this spring, kind of thing is what I'm
should,
looking
you
for.
know, like,
And hopefully it will now proceed. Councilor Walsh, the floor is yours. Carry on, sir.
Okay, so the vote has been completed, is
Yep.
it? Everything we're ready
All
to
done.
go? Okay, the third item for me, Your Worship, is basically the purchase of a small piece of Crown land east of 1221 Topsail Road. Now, just if you look at the map there, which is probably not very detailed, which is appended there, that would be east of Coruscant Drive, right next to Fun and Fast, and was it Vavasor Holdings? That was right next to that. The beauty about that is that this piece of Crown land will give us access, or another access, into the Waterford Valley and the Waterford River. So that would be particularly beneficial to us. So we were not really, I guess we were aware, but it was really not brought to our attention acutely that this is another access point that we could utilize. So once we were aware of that, we decided that this would be the time to make a submission to Crown Lands application. This is generally a fairly routine process for us to acquire the land and for public use. And so the Planning Committee supports the Department's recommendation to proceed with an application to Crown Land for the transfer of ownership for public walkway access purposes. And that's the recommendation that we're putting forth to Council today, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Would this result in our having to pay money for this, or is this generally Crown Lands turns this stuff over gratis?
I'm not sure what the cost is, so I'll defer to
Yeah, the policy has been, Your Worship, that if it's from one level of government to the next, it's usually there's no
Yeah, for
there's
public
no
use,
charge.
it's
there may be
transferred to us for free.
legal charges in terms of registration, so on, but other than that, we don't actually pay for the land.
Yep.
Now that's been the policy.
Any questions or comments? We have the motion. We'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And I'm going to defer to my
Thank you.
colleague.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh.
Deputy Mayor.
And that Crown Land, Your Worship, is such a small piece of land that can only enhance access, so I don't foresee any difficulties with it.
No, I would agree.
All right, Your Worship, the next item that we have here from our committee is a proposed ground sign location on 1027 Topsail Road. Windsor Home has applied to erect a ground or pylon sign in the front yard of its property on Topsail Road with a 1-foot setback from the property boundary. The proposed sign is to identify the business and tenants in the office, which is situated on the particular property. Where they want to put the sign, however, Your Worship, does not meet the ground and pylon sign standards. Sorry, that's the math in my head. Yeah, but my passion is math, Councillor Walsh. Sorry. Apologize for that. Anyways, let's just call it the sign, and we'll get around that. Apologize, yeah. Anyways, it's not a permitted use within our development regulations. However, the regulations do provide council with some discretion here. The regulations, as outlined there, state, unless otherwise determined by council, one ground or pylon sign shall be permitted per street frontage of the lot, subject to the following regulations, and this is where it comes in. The sign shall be set back a minimum distance of half of the height of the sign from the property front line. Mm-hmm. So in this particular case, the proposed sign is going to be between 12 and 16 feet in height. So with this sign size, it should be set back between 6 to 8 feet from the property boundary. That's what would be required in order to meet our conform to the regulations that we have. The applicant has proposed a 1-foot setback from the boundary because in this particular, they have a unique situation here where the landscaped area in the location would permit this. So if the sign were to be replaced at the required setback, what would happen, the sign would actually encroach on their existing parking lot and they would lose a parking space.
And there is a 19-foot.
Right. So given that you got a right-of-way there, there's 19 feet of grassed, landscaped area between the carriageway and their property line. So at council, we said, well, in this particular situation, given the fact that the owner it's not going to impede sight lines, it's not going to have any adverse impact, it will allow them to maintain their parking stalls, and we think it'll be an appropriate fit for that particular area. So with that said, the committee supports the proposed location in light of the existing distance from Topsail Road and the review of the plans, and we recommend that we approve the sign application at 1027 Topsail Road, provided that the sign location is indeed outside the Newfoundland Power easement, which is in that particular area as well. But we're confident they'll be able to do that and meet that requirement as well. So with that, I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Walsh. I guess the question would be, well, let's see if you ask it. Councillor Aker.
What's that? I'm going to ask, what if this was a changeable message sign? Is that what you're going to ask?
No.
Oh, good. There'll be two questions on this one. Would that change our approach here? This is a fixed sign, I'm assuming. So, it is not within our regulations, but we've articulated from a safety and a setback point of view. But if it was a changeable message, one of these video signs, would we have a different view of this because of the brightness and the location of the sign? Would that change anything? That's the more modern sign. And should we restrict this sign to not being of that type of medium? Is there any issue with that?
Councillor Walsh?
Councillor Aker, it might, but what we're dealing with is a particular application, and what we're dealing with is a lot that already has a number of signs on the right-of-way. It may change the water on the beans if it were an electronic sign and a lighted sign. That's why we have the discretion of council. And the way the regulation is written, it has a set of regulations, as it said, or otherwise at the discretion of council. So in council's wisdom at the time, they said, well, let's look at each one by its own merits. If we were to follow our own regulations in this particular case, as the deputy mayor has said, we'd actually be placing the sign on the asphalt parking lot, and they would lose a parking spot as a result. And given the fact that there's already 19 feet of public right-of-way, that would seem asinine to us. So in this particular case, the sign works. It's not an electronic sign. It's not a lighted sign, and it doesn't impede sight lines. It just provides, good visibility from the roadway for Windsor Properties to do their advertising. But it is a good question, but it's not the application we're dealing with. Based on the application we're dealing with, we don't see any problems with it. It might be different, however, as you say, if it were a lighted electronic sign.
So could I ask then, if they do come back, this is a non-changeable sign, so if down the road they do want to convert that to a changeable sign,
Then we'll
they
have to
have
deal
to
with it.
again come back for council's discretion. Thank you.
Councillor Ledwell, then Councillor Tessier.
Just in addition to Councillor Walsh's commentary, of course, in the past couple of years, we'll recall that we've passed some regulations that were related to these changeable message signs, these lighted signs. So I guess if that application was to come back for a changeable message sign, what we'd have to do is apply those regulations and determine at that point if it applies or it doesn't.
They fall under different regulations, absolutely.
Mr. Yevchak?
Your Worship, more for clarification. The application did not indicate it was a changeable message sign, first of all, so this is a standard ground pylon sign that is really to deal with the name of the building and the tenants that's within it.
Yeah, this is a sign that as I recall from several years ago, Mr. Yevchak, this is the type of sign we've encouraged to discourage the, I'll call it, big bold signs on the lawns and whatnot.
And multiple signs.
When you're identifying multiple tenant buildings.
Right.
We've always encouraged that.
Now, the second question about if this was a changeable message sign, the requirements wouldn't be that different than what we're now applying. If they had applied for that, the recommendation from the staff would be probably the same, but then it'd be up to council to determine if indeed you wish that to go ahead or not. But again, to clarify, that's not the application. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Tessier, your question, was it answered?
My question is answered because I looked at it a little more closely. The 19 feet of public right-of-way between the building and between Topsail Road.
So
That
your
was my
question was going to be...
Snow clearing.
Okay, you and I were on the
There
same
we go.
track, but I think we're all
And
satisfied.
if they would assume responsibility, sign off on responsibility if there was any damage done to the sign with snow clearing, but I don't think that's an issue.
Given the buffer, I don't think that.
Thank you. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next item here has to do with an application from 61272 Newfoundland Labrador Limited. They're associated with Cardinal Homes, and this is regarding operating their office out of the house at 872 Topsail Road that has been renovated for commercial use. You may remember this came before council some years back.
Yep.
I think at the time they were interested in putting solariums or something on that. The proposal...
We call them Florida rooms.
Florida rooms, there you go. The proposal is to convert from a residential use to a commercial use, to expand and consolidate the property to meet the minimum frontage development standards for commercial use, and to conduct site improvements. As I said, in 2014, the city issued a building permit to renovate the existing dwelling. The current owner of the property is the applicant, and the subject property is in the commercial mixed-use zone, and the proposed office use is a permitted commercial use within that zone. So the existing building has a footprint of approximately 99 square meters and is a two-story building. If you look at the history there, it says a residential use existed on the property until 2014, when Cardinal Homes renovated the dwelling to use it as their office. A previous proposal to create a commercial use on this particular site was refused on the grounds that at the time the lot did not have sufficient frontage to meet the city's minimum for a commercial lot. As the applicant owns both the subject property now and the adjacent property to the east, the applicant has changed the boundaries of the subject property so that it would meet the city's requirements. So based on all of that, the department is recommending that the proposed conversion from residential to commercial use, consolidation of the property, and parking lot and sidewalk work on 872 Topsail Road be approved, subject to meeting the conditions that are outlined within the report, Your Worship, with City Engineering Services Division, with Planning and Inspection, Finance Division, and of course the St. John's Regional Fire Department. The committee supports this, and we're asking the leave of council to approve this, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
That brings us, Your Worship, to the Eastern Newfoundland Regional Appeal Board. The appeal of the council decision to refuse a fence permit at 71 Holden Street. The committee reviewed the appeal decision, which is attached for council's viewing. Regarding the refusal of a fence application at this street, the appeal board ruled that the decision was not appealable under the board's jurisdiction, thereby confirming council decision to refuse that application. And this is just brought forward, Your Worship, for information purposes.
Thank you.
That then brings us to our Planning and Development Department, the development permit list for December 14th to December 31st of 2015. We have 3 outlined there, and I move that they be accepted as presented.
It is moved, seconded. Any question at all on the permits? There are 3 of them listed. Any questions on any of them from anyone?
Nope.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
The development permit list for January the 4th to January the 8th of 2016. We have 1 outlined there, and again I move that that be accepted as presented.
Moved, seconded. Questions? All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
The building construction for residential properties for December 14th to December 31st of 2015. The total for this time period was $181,500, and I move that that amount be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded?
And finally, Your Worship,
Motion
for
carried.
the commercial building construction permit for the same time period of December 14th to the 31st of 2015, the total for this period was $8,300, and again I move that this be accepted as
Wow,
presented.
that's a pile, eh?
Yeah.
8,300. It was a good
Oh,
year.
great
Good
year overall. Yep.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
That brings us now to the new year, Your Worship, from January the 4th to the 8th, the residential building construction. During this time, $520,000. I move that the amount be accepted as presented.
All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried.
And commercial building construction for January 4th to the 8th, $2,036,000. And again, I move that the amounts be accepted as presented.
All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
And that's it.
55 million is what's impressive.
That was very impressive.
Good year.
Yeah, it's a good year, very good year.
It was a good year.
So let's hope it continues.
So let us hope
And that's
so.
it for our committee, Your Worship. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Walsh. Moving along, we will go back now to the correct order on the agenda. The next item is our Corporate Community Services Committee. Councillor Ledwell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our first item on our agenda this evening is our list of invoices for approval. You'll see there that we have 26 in total on our list for a total cost of $462,033.86. Some of the highlights there, some of the larger ones, you'll see there the very first one, the first progress payment on the air quality work that we're doing at the depot for $93,116.52. And there's a couple of other significant ones there for regional services, one being our share for November for the Robin Hood Bay landfill, and also we have our share for the Metrobus service for November of 2015. So once again, our total is $462,033.86, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Any questions or comments relating to the invoices for approval listed 1 to 26? Hearing none, all those in favour? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Our next item, Your Worship, is in accordance with Section 116 of the City of Mount Pearl Act. The committee is currently recommending that we take the step, as we do every year, I believe, to renew our $3 million line of credit with the Bank of Nova Scotia. As I say, this is in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And our third item is a recommendation to award a tender to purchase one new electronic self-propelled scissor lift. This is, I believe, for the Summit Centre, and we're recommending to award the piece of equipment, for the tender, I guess, for the piece of equipment, to the lowest qualified bidder, which was Battlefield Equipment. Their bid was $37,879.01, which includes HST, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
I'll turn it over to my tag team partner.
Councillor Stoyles, tag team partner.
Frosty Festival, first instalment, 17,500. That's 50%, and the second 50% will be released after the end of the Frosty Festival. And I so move.
That is moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Admiralty House Museum, first instalment, 37,500, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And of course, the last item is for information only. It's our Frosty Festival coming up, which is February the 4th to the 14th. The first event will be the Big Bingo on the 14th, and tickets are already on sale now for that through different organisations and charities throughout the community. But tickets already went on sale for the Atlantic Lottery Corporation. Presents the Massless Men, the Irish Descendants, and the Navigators. Those tickets went on sale online on Sunday, January the 10th, which was Sunday past. And all the other tickets are going to start on January the 16th at the Reed Centre at the box office. And you can, anybody who's interested in looking at the booklet, they can get it online. Also, the booklet will be delivered to all households in the city, and I think they're going to be in the bags, go bags, and so for people to watch out for them in the go bags. And of course, there'll be booklets down here at City Hall and at all our facilities as well, for anybody outside the community. And if anybody wants to check out what's happening within the community, there's a couple of new events again this year, and I'm sure everybody's going to get out and have a good time and enjoy the winter. Thank you.
That is the hope.
That's it.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Stoyles, Deputy Mayor. Next, it's Infrastructure and our Public Works Committee. Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to do the updates, and Councillor Tessier is going to talk about the winter maintenance.
The down dates.
Yes, that's right. Updates on some work in progress. Gymnastics facility, we're about 47% complete. Lindsay Construction continues to work on that building.
I got to tell you, it looks like it's a lot more than 47% complete, but that's
It does.
just on the outside.
But
It's just a
it's
shell.
done on the outside. They're working on the corner there, which is mostly glass.
It's coming
I
together
believe,
quite
in the
nicely, isn't it?
entranceway.
Are
So
we going to do anything about our Donovan sign there, right in their walkway, right in their driveway now?
I don't know the answer to that. Take it down.
We're going to take it down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I seem to vaguely remember something we were going to do with it, but yeah. Yeah. Okay.
We'll renew the sign. Team Gushu Phase 2, we're shut down now basically for the winter. It's about 35% complete, and we expect to start up again as soon as the frost leaves in the spring of 2016, current year. A couple of developments on their way in the in the queue. We basically are waiting for an RFP for engineering services related to the intersection of Topsail Road and Black Marsh Road, which can be challenging, as most of you know, from time to time. And of course, there are some changes coming with regard to the amount of traffic on that as the new Gushu Highway opens at the other end of Black Marsh Road. So we're on top of that. St. David's Park redevelopment sometime in January, near the end. We're expecting to have the tender package advertised. Track Consulting is leading that, and hopefully later on this year we're going to see the redevelopment of St. David's get in full gear and in full earnest. The Reed Center will be shutting down probably just after Frosty Festival. The city is going to spend, I believe, Your Worship, I heard you say last night, over approximately $1 million in terms of renewing the bathrooms.
Yeah,
the
1.2
and the gymnasium.
in total.
Yeah. So basically, expect a tender package, final design, public tender package for early March of 16 to get that moving. Admiralty House design is ongoing with regards to the annex. Of course, this will benefit not only the Admiralty House Museum, but also the Association for the Arts in the city of Mount Pearl. And of course, asset management, we're having a committee meeting tomorrow, and we're going to get an update on that. We're expecting that the consultant will have the gap analysis done probably within about 30 days or so, and we'll have another update next week. And I'm going to turn winter maintenance over to my colleague.
I always feel like you should say, tag, you're it. And then I'll get up.
Are you
winter
the
ma-
if we get snow as a result of your getting up, you shall wear it.
Oh, listen, make no mistake. We will get snow because I'm off.
Oh, okay.
Make no mistake.
We should have known.
But you know what? I got to tell you. I'm not, actually, no, I'm not going to say it. Everybody's thinking it. I'm not even going to say it.
What's that? We've been
We've
fortunate.
been very lucky. We really have. Like, even if, like, we know winter's coming. We all know winter's coming, and we're gonna beg for the patience of. Yeah, but
We're
like,
in winter.
But we're not suffering.
It's not real winter.
We're not suffering like we have in previous years, and we're going to beg the patience of our residents when that does happen, and we know it's going to happen. But here's the beauty of it. It's January. It's almost middle of January, and winter can only be so long.
Every day is a good one right now.
So, you know. Okay, so
So
our
there's
winter
snow
maintenance,
tomorrow, right?
our winter maintenance is ongoing. So when the temperatures allow, when they're like between -2 and +2, higher volumes of salt are used to combat the thaw-freeze cycle that's happening in these situations. When we don't have a lot of snow clearing happening, our crews are out doing minor street repairs when they can, pothole repairs, signage repairs, collecting recyclables. A lot of us like to put our garbage out the night before in case we don't need to get up real early in the morning to meet the trucks. And with that comes the recycling bags as well. So our crews, when it's possible, are going out the night before to collect those. That also prevents a mess in the city. It prevents them being buried by snow, all kinds of fun things. So that we're doing all of those things as well. Just a reminder to motorists, we've got some snowplow safety issues that we're experiencing. We're asking people to be very, very patient and to give our snowplows as much clearance as possible. But there's a couple of points of note that we really want people to recognize. We want people to be patient and keep a safe distance behind our working snowplow. Obviously, they often travel slowly because they're trying to clear the snow. They're probably dealing with higher volumes or they're spreading some salt. We want people to exercise patience when that happens. And here's a big one. On streets like Topsail Road, Commonwealth Avenue, when we've got 4 lanes of traffic and we've got snowplows traveling in tandem, we've had situations, according to the director, where people are actually passing the snowplows on the right.
Whoa.
Yes, and that's very, very dangerous. And we want people to recognize that, you know, that is extremely dangerous. When they're traveling in tandem, then we really want you to exercise your patience because they're doing it that way for a reason. It's to effectively clear these water 4-lane streets. But when you're passing the snowplow like that, you're actually you're
On the
creating
right,
it.
you're taking
On the
your
right.
life. You're taking your life in your hands.
Absolutely.
Why would you?
Absolutely.
Why would you do such a thing?
So
Yeah.
for the sake of a couple of minutes, we're all in such a mad tear. Like, and we always see it all the time. We see people passing us in and out of traffic all the time, and we're going to meet them up at the red light.
Yeah.
They're getting nowhere faster. We all understand that. During the course of winter, and I've said it 1,000 times, you've heard me say it, winter is a very, very frustrating time of year for all of us. However, when your safety, the safety of yourself, of the public, and of our snowplow operators is in the balance, you really got to exercise your patience and just wait your turn to move on. So especially when our snowplows are operating in tandem, we're asking people to absolutely not pass them. There's so much more we could say about snowplow safety, but for now, that's a really important message because we are experiencing those problems.
I have
Okay.
a question. Do we still have the
Councillor
side
Dawes?
guards on some of our vehicles? I know we talked about it. We do.
What cards?
The guards, the side
Oh, the
guards.
side guards and the trucks, yes.
We do have them.
Yeah, yeah. Though this year they would be of no value. We have no real banks of snow yet.
No.
Keeping our fingers crossed. That concludes committee reports. We're going to move on to new business. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have one planning item here. It's the Mount Pearl Universal Design Workshop. City Council of Mount Pearl is holding the workshop for Universal Design on January the 21st of 2016, 9 a.m. at the Mount Pearl Soccer Hut. And Universal Design is a new concept that's being brought forward. We discussed it around the council table, but it's quite intense. It's quite involved. So we did at council level express some interest in trying to adopt some universal design into our standards, into our policies. But we thought it prudent that we hold a workshop first before we go down that road to certainly find out all the intricacies of bringing on a universal design approach to our policies. So again, we're looking at how we can incorporate universal design into our regulations, our standards. That'll be reflective of the context of our province, Newfoundland and Labrador.
We should, for the benefit of the minutes and everything else, including, I think, the webcast and everything else, explain universal design.
Well, it's sort of an approach to development. It's funny because I was just talking about this today in one of my classes about development and universal design. And my understanding of it, and again, this is why I'm hoping to glean some more information from this workshop, is an approach to a development where when you design it, the house can be used for people of all levels of mobility and all capability. So some of the things like, pardon me? You could grow old. So basically, speaking with Director Yevchek a couple of years back, I did incorporate some of these when we were building our summer home out around the bay. So we have 3.5 foot wide hallways. All of our doors are 36 inches. So heaven forbid that if I ever challenged my mobility is challenged, I can still get around. So I lowered the windowsills in my house and the doorknobs. If you have arthritic hands, so you can use the latch doorknobs and lower your light fixtures. These are just some of the preliminary basic things. It's about accessibility, and so it's designed for everybody to use, your countertops and all this sort of stuff. So this is why, again, I know a little bit about it in discussion, but this is why we wanted to hold this particular design workshop to find out, the full scale, full picture of this. And then once we get a grasp of that, then we can look at it and say, okay, how can we take this approach and sort of weave this into our standards.
And apply it to new construction
and
in
our
particular.
policies to new construction to address the needs as our population ages and the needs of our population change as they mature and get older. So again, it's scheduled for January the 21st at the Soccer Hut. Participants will explore the concept of this, how they can be incorporated, and registration is required. So space is limited. Registration will close at noon on January the 18th. And for more information, they can go to the event's website, www.mountpearl.ca, Universal Design Workshop, or they can contact Christopher Hardy here at the city, and he can certainly give the information to them.
Have we done any advertising of it at all?
Through social media, our website?
Your Worship, we've advertised with a whole series of, we've connected with a whole series of organizations and groups that are involved with disabilities and with development and with government policy.
So I'm assuming COD is here.
We have invited them, yes, Your Worship.
The Coalition on
And
Disabilities.
Service NL, the accessibility section has been invited. We'll be attending. They're one of our panelists.
Any chance that the new minister would show?
We haven't invited a new minister, but we could.
Sherry
If that's-
Camden Walsh is the new
If that's
minister.
a desire, we will follow up, Your Worship, for sure.
I would like them to. I would like them to know about it. This is going to be the first kind of a workshop, I think, driven by a municipality ever done in the region, and we're doing it from a very interesting perspective, which is the whole issue of designing regulatory pieces here around universal design. So, I'm assuming home builders are going to express a tremendous interest in wanting to know what is it you're going to try and make us do, beyond build a 36-inch door.
Yeah,
you
Your
know what I'm saying?
Worship. Yeah, Your Worship. As an example, we have as our keynote speaker for lunch. And first of all, our opening keynote speaker is I forget the gentleman's name, but he's from CMHC, and his background is actually in universal design, This is being his attendance is being sponsored by CMHC to give the differences in definitions about accessibility, universal design, visitability is another term that's being used, so that as participants go through the day, they'll have an understanding of what all these concepts mean. And our keynote speaker at lunchtime is Greg Hussey of Carwood Contracting, and he was recommended by the home builders because he has, I think as council aware, in
He
Paradise,
has tremendous insight into this.
he's got a number of units that have been both accessible and visitable, so he can actually speak from the realities of the construction industry, which is what our interest is in terms of putting our regulations forward, something that is applicable and within our context.
Yeah, I hope that we'll make a note, Deputy Mayor, through the committee or whatever. I don't know which one now. We'll tackle that. Yours, I guess, planning.
Planning.
We should have a news release on this tomorrow. Our communications department should put something out advising, that's because the 21st is like next week.
Right, 9 days away.
And I wouldn't even be surprised, and I'm not sure if we have, but inviting our neighbor municipalities to send a rep, feel free to come. They're going to want to explore this as well. I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is cutting edge stuff, and I'm also a huge supporter of COD, so that's why I'm kind of a little passionate about it. Councillor Tessier wants to speak to it for a second, Deputy Mayor. I'm
I
sorry.
just have a question. I remember, I don't know if it's in regulations or what, but I remember we've had discussions in the past about certain numbers of units in subdivisions being accessible. Do you remember we've had those discussions, Director Yevchek? So this is universal design. Is it the same as a fully accessible house or a fully accessible dwelling, or is it slightly different? Because I would think with a fully accessible home, you would need a ramp.
Depends what you want.
Slightly different.
You know, that's the question. Like, I think some confusion might need to be cleared up because, universal design allows you, if you get older and you develop mobility issues, that you can actually still stay in your home if you want. But there's obviously very many young people who require accessible housing
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
Visitable,
There's
visitable,
two or
I
three.
think, is
There's
the standard you
yeah,
look
there-
for initially.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
two or
yeah.
three pieces
So
to the
there's
puzzle
some confusion, right?
from the construction end of it. One is obviously new construction, which has a completely different approach than trying to adapt a building and repurpose a building. Those kind of challenges come into play. The question for a municipality would be, and I guess we'll ask it and try and answer it at that session. Questions for municipal governments would be things along the lines of, what are the minimum requirements that you could put in any new home that would adequately make the majority of them accessible if somebody found themselves in a wheelchair or challenged on mobility levels? And you're dealing with everything in the world, including how you design a house that if you needed a ramp, how would you design a house so you build a ramp now when you don't need it and incorporate it into your entire step system and so on?
Well, and
That's the kind of
to
thing.
that effect, again, and this is something that's very interesting for us at a municipal level, is when you are building a new home, if you don't want to build a home and have that ramp, for example, attached to it just automatically, how do we make it easier for you if you need to? Because we've all encountered those issues where somebody puts in a permit application for a ramp and there's front yard.
They have real
requirements
challenges. Well,
and,
again, that adapting piece
That's right.
is really tougher
That's
to
right.
handle than if you were dealing with it
So
at the beginning of new
So
construction.
how do we, if necessary, make that process easier down the road if it's required?
So you'll be there on the 21st, will you?
I was just going to say, Your Worship, this seems to illustrate the need for
The need
our-
for a discussion.
our workshop, yeah.
Councillor Yevchek. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just going to elect you. Director Yevchek, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Worship, and this is a great conversation. That's the purpose of the workshop, is to get those kind of discussions going, and then seeing what can realistically apply within this universal design framework. Now, universal design is not just to deal with residential dwellings. It deals with commercial dwellings.
Oh, everything.
It actually deals
with everything.
It actually deals with our infrastructure. Are we designing our infrastructure that's, when we say in universal design, it's not just mobility, it's also hearing, seeing, those kind of things, so that the design of the building in a true universal design framework is accessible to all, with people with all challenging needs and all difficulties. So there's like tactile surfaces, considerations, perhaps some form of alarm system or yeah, I don't know if you've noticed it, but yeah, or just a tweeting noise. I think they have something like this at the on Kingsbridge Road, where the light changes and there's a kind of a tweeting noise. So someone who has a seeing disability knows that they can cross the street with that noise because they can't see. Those kind of things. That's all part of that whole discussion. And then what are those kind of elements that we want as a council, as a city, to incorporate into our development, building regulations, and engineering standards? This is what's going to end up at the end of the day. But we need to have a discussion, a conversation, to see what is realistic within the Newfoundland context. I'll make one last comment, talk about steps and all that. You're right, this universal design approach, you start from basically the basics of the design of the lot, and indeed, if you want to make the home fully accessible in terms of the universal design framework, you won't have steps. So now you have to figure out how do you get someone from the sidewalk or from the driveway into the house without any steps, grading, surfaces, that kind of stuff. That's the discussion.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating.
There you go. We got it all figured out. Yeah. So just to let people know, they can register and they can visit our website, Your Worship.
Thank you very much.
One other event that I just want to mention was the seniors event, Seniors Independence. We were all in attendance last evening. It was a great event. The meal was fantastic. Actually, it was quite delicious. And again, to see the size of our Seniors Independence group and just all the activities that they offer, it was a nice event. And as you said last night, Your Worship, that particular community group in our city does us proud. And of course, they welcome people from all over, so it was just a great event all around. So I just wanted to acknowledge that here. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things. I'd like for us to send out a couple of letters of congratulations. One to a young lady from Mount Pearl, attending Mount Pearl Senior High, Cassie Boone, who is going to be going away to Ontario to school for the School of Ballet of Canada, and there's a lovely article in the Mount Pearl, in the Pearl newspaper about her, and certainly want to congratulate her and wish her well in her future endeavours. And also Adam Keating. Adam continues to impress everybody in the community. He raised a lot of money again this year in memory of his dad, Keith Keating, and this year he raised $21,000 to go to the Dr. H. Bliss Murphy cancer treatment, and it's great to see young people taking on such roles and raising so much money for worthwhile causes. Also, Your Worship, I want to mention the Kinsman. The Kinsman Club, as Councillor Aker mentioned about the Reed Centre. The Reed Centre is actually going to stay open until after the Kinsmen do their event after the Winter Carnival. On November the 20th, the Kinsman Club of Mount Pearl will celebrate their 50th anniversary. Information will be in February 20th. I said January 20th, sorry. It's February 20th. Anyway, it's going to be an event, and they've in the process now of sending out invitations and everything, but I just want to make sure people put in their candles, because I'm sure they're going to want all of council, and it's on a,
They're actually going to do a full week of celebrations. Council is committed to providing some funding and in-kind support. We're going to be a part of the party.
That's right.
Big time. 60 years, man.
Also, I want to pass on my sympathy to the Moores family. Richard Moores passed away the past couple of weeks, New Year's Day, yeah. And want to pass on my sympathies to the family. Richard lives here in Mount Pearl and on Ashford Drive, and have lived there for a long time. I remember working with him through the fisheries, and that he had a long career in the fisheries, and very well known in the province. Also, the last thing I wanted to mention was back before Christmas, I mentioned Phyllis Toop Hogard. Her son, well, was an email sent around the council back just, well, it was before Christmas or after Christmas. Her son came by, and I had mentioned Phyllis being, especially now with Frosty coming, and that Phyllis was one of the founding, she was the founding member, one of the people who were the first executives and was the first member of wear the suit for a number of years. Anyway, her son was here in the province, of course, for her funeral and that, and he dropped by and dropped off for a lot of pictures and that. And I know she said that some of them were here at City Hall, and I'm just wondering, anybody in the community who've known Phyllis, and a couple of people had said to me they wouldn't mind seeing him. So maybe a good idea would be during one of the events during Frosty, especially, you know, we could have some of those pictures out so people in the community could see him, and because, you know, a lot of people, you know.
Even during some of the news conferences, perhaps.
Yeah, it might be nice. It might be nice just to recognise Phyllis. I had said that maybe we should talk about doing something in Phyllis's memory, you know, because Frosty was one of the big things she was involved with besides Girl Guides and guiding. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Councillor Walsh?
Thank you. I just also wanted to acknowledge the passing of Richard Morris. I think Richard actually lived on Jackman Drive for 25 years. Pass along condolences to his wife Bernadette and their daughters. He actually worked with my wife for 20 years with the Fisheries Resource Centres, and was a real gentleman and a real proud resident of Mount Pearl. You may have seen Richard quite a bit at some of the Church of Good Shepherd events, in fact, over the last couple of years. Right to the end, he was actually very active. I know he attended the Enna Sisters concert, and I think he got into the concert, Shelley Neville's Silent Night, or whatever that show is, the Christmas concert at the Arts and Culture Centre. So he certainly fought to the end and was a tremendous resident of Mount Pearl, and I want to pass on my heartfelt condolences to the family. The universal design thing will still probably need to be done, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that it is a great project, but it is really an opportunity to raise awareness and educate and share information, I think, and from that I think we'll glean some opportunities for us to apply universal design standards into our planning and development regulations and that sort of thing. So it's really not a day focused simply on Mount Pearl's opportunity to change our regulations to fit or apply universal design, but it is a sharing of information. I think it's a great start, and I think it's an important way to start so that we can understand a little bit more what universal design is, and it is much more expensive than I think what we were referencing for the most part here tonight. And we look forward to that, and look forward to seeing the outcome of those deliberations in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tessier?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. We're talking about universal design, talking about accessibility. Councillor Stoyles had a guest with her last night who used a motorised wheelchair, and when I was leaving last night, she was waiting for the GO bus to pick her up. And I asked her if she needed some help going through the door, and she made a comment that was, well, you don't think about it. She actually said, no, when I push your buttons here, the doors stay open long enough for me to get out. Do you ever think about it?
No.
She said,
Really
she said, your doors stay open long enough for me to get out. And that really struck with me because I thought, well, how frustrating must it be if you push a button and you don't have enough time to get your chair out?
The door opens and closes.
The door's going to close
Yeah.
on you. The door's going to close on you. So it must be an issue somewhere. For her to make that statement, it must be an issue somewhere.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? Because you just assume. You assume you'll push the button and the door's going to stay open long enough, and, you know, but it must not be the case. If it's enough to make a point of saying it, it may not always be the case. So I think it's really important that, you know, we as a municipality, I was really proud, obviously, that our public building did that. And Lord knows this door out here stays open forever when you push the button. It does. So I think it's really important that as a city, it's really important to make sure that all of our public buildings, and I'd encourage everybody, the business community, everybody, to make sure that their timers on their doors stay open long enough for somebody to actually get their chair out safely and fully. And another little proud piece, if you build it, they will come. I was up at the summit today at lunchtime, and I was talking with one of our employees up there, and he told me that yesterday, 482 people went through the door of the Summit Fitness facility. Just fitness. 482 people. No, that is the gym, that's the weight room, that's...
Next month will be half that.
Well, you know what? There's certain times of day there's certain times of day that are busier than others.
Absolutely.
They're all
But
up there
yep,
talking turkey.
482 people. I thought that was fantastic.
That's very good.
Yes. Anyway, I was really pleased when I heard it. I'm glad that I didn't go up when it was really busy. I got to tell you, I'm happy that I'm able to slide in when it's not so busy.
Do your share.
But that's definitely something for us to be proud of. That's it.
Councillor Aker. Councillor Ledwell.
Just to build on Councillor Tessier's point there, Councillor Stawes had to give her credit for this. We're going to wait a couple of months so we can bump up the numbers later in the year, I think. You know,
Is that what we're going to do? Okay, good plan.
that's the plan anyway.
I like the plan.
That's the plan. No, I just want to make a brief mention. I had the pleasure Friday afternoon past of attending the retirement celebration of one of our long time employees. Of course, that was Ray Hanlon up at the depot. Ray, well, Race is, that's what he sort of goes by. It's kind of a nickname, but I think his actual name is Ray. In fact, I know it is. He always wins the Ray. Anyhow, it was a great afternoon. We had a number of our retirees present, and certainly I think Ray or Race, however you want to call him, certainly was very honored and very happy about the celebration. So just want to say congratulations to him on his retirement, and it was a nice afternoon.
All right, thank you very much. That's everybody. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. Well, very quickly. Mount Pearl versus St. John's. Reason for the rink continues for charities. Todd Churchill's rink, Portugal calls St. Philip's. Staff from the city of Mount Pearl who can play hockey took the place of councillors who cannot. Took on St. John's yesterday and won the Twin Cities Winter Classic hockey game for the third straight year in a row. Now, I think that has to, now we have to declare that it's a friggin' dynasty.
Are they going to cancel like they did with the pancake breakfast? It's up there with
I think I have a feeling now. I have a feeling now that, much like the pancake breakfast when we had to do the trivia, that the CBC had the trophy and we kept winning it. They ended up canceling it.
Well,
So maybe the hockey game will now get canceled,
3-0,
or do we dare boldly go where no one has gone and challenge some other neighbor?
well, I tell you, St. John's had a much larger team than Mount Pearl did as well on Sunday. Mount Pearl played very short and still managed to pull out the win.
Number of players.
What do you mean? No, seriously though, I think we only had 5 players on the ice. Is that correct?
Well, I want to say I want to
Plus a goal.
obviously pass on to staff, and I'm assuming that Jason Collins is the driver behind this. I don't know who's the driver behind it. Jason Silver. I want you to pass on to everybody that participated how thankful we are that they did that.
Did you raise lots of
on
money?
behalf of the city? It's a volunteer initiative. It's a charity initiative. 4 different charities benefit from the effort. But what I liked was this. At the very end of it, they say that the annual Twin Cities Winter Classic between workers in Mount Pearl and St. John's help contribute to the cause
That's right.
for these charities. And that's important for our citizens. But for us as a council, there's a take that, Doc,
There's the
kind of moment.
There's the headline.
kind of moment attached to the thing. And we don't have the trophy yet. I'm told the trophy has got to be. Could we make Doc present it to us?
Listen, just fill out a few more years with Mount Pearl.
Could we make Doc come to a Mount Pearl council meeting and present the trophy? No, boy, because they'll do it in baseball and they'll humiliate me even more.
I was just going to say you could issue a jersey challenge, like
They
a
beat
Caps
us in
jersey
baseball.
and a
Do you
Blades
remember?
jersey.
Do you remember the humiliation you guys heaped on me?
The Storm lost to the Capitals, I recall.
I think that was very, very wonderful. Congratulations to the staff. A beautiful thing to do. I got to say, Todd Churchill's commitment to this is amazing.
It is.
You talk about citizens that take something on and they're just tenacious in what they try to do in the community. Todd Churchill is one of those folks. He deserves. I hope the people of Portugal Coast St. Philip's are proud because I'd move him in here if we could steal him.
Oh, his wife would come back tomorrow.
And his wife would come back. Yeah. On the regret side, as we often do recognize unique citizens. We just mentioned Phyllis Hogarth, Phyllis Toop Hogarth, I guess is how we say it. We all knew Phyllis. I certainly did for a lot of years, and we pass along our condolences to the family. But one person I want to mention who's not a member of our community directly, I guess it's fair to say, but a colleague of ours in St. John's, Councillor Hickman, lost his father this week. One of the more prominent people within the Newfoundland judiciary for over a half a century in reality, served as a political voice and a politician, of course, the Honourable Alex T. Hickman, who passed away. And I want us as a city and as a community to pass along to Councillor Hickman and his family our condolences and recognize that he was a great leader and a man who helped build a tremendous province and contributed a lot in his time in public life, but also in his time on the bench, serving as a justice of the Provincial Supreme Court. And I hope that we are able to send out a note of condolence to Sandy and his family. The Frosty Festival launch and lunch happening this Thursday at the Reed Centre, and we hope that as much of council as can get out will get out. Once again, this is going to be a big year for the Frosty Festival, and we're hoping to see huge crowds. There's some new events planned. Most of you have had a look at the schedule in the book, and it's going to be an interesting one yet again. And maybe we'll actually have snow for it. Maybe. Do we want any snow for it? The snowmobilers certainly, I think, would like to see some. And on that note, we will entertain a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Stoyles. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.